Tell us how the Cricket Kid started. Where did the idea come from?
The idea came from Jackson. So I was watching like a lot of YouTube stuff, and he was like, I want to do this.
What have you been working on in your technical game and your batting? What have been the changes you've made with JT over the winter?
One of the main things is shot selection. In other seasons, I would play shots at the wrong time, and I would never defend a ball. The bowler is allowed to bowl good balls, like just giving some respect to the ball.
And so what point did it start to gain traction?
I think there's that catch.
Yeah, there was massive. Yeah, there was a catch that I took
Off the cradle?
off the cradle in the cricket farm, and there was definitely a lot of mayo put on that catch, but I think it went trending in either Pakistan or India, and it got, I think it's on 16.8 million views.
Oh, do you check that every day, do you? You know the
Every
exact
day,
number.
yeah.
Roundabout.
You're watching it every day.
16.85.
G'day legends, and welcome to another episode of the Cricket Mentoring Podcast, coming to you from the very special studio of the Cricket District boys. We have just had a morning filming at the Sussex County Cricket Club. We've got some great content coming from that this morning, but I'm super excited for today as we have two very special people, two people I'm very close to as guests on the Cricket Mentoring Podcast, Jackson and Nick Bentley. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, mate?
Good to be here.
It is. So Jax and Nick have become good friends of ours at Cricket Mentoring. We've had them on our India tour 3 times now, and they're due to come again in September for the 4th time. So really, really exciting. Jackson is a very, very promising young cricketer, and we're going to talk about his cricket now. So Jax, take us back to the very beginning. What's your earliest memory of playing cricket?
Well, my earliest memories were definitely in the garden with my granddad, hitting off those little blue cones. He put the tennis ball on it, whacking it to the end of the garden, and with my dad and granddad in the back garden, just hitting loads of balls, hours and hours. Yeah, just loving cricket, really getting into it.
So your granddad was a cricketer?
A bit. I think he would call himself not a cricketer, but he played a little bit with my dad, and I'm sure he'll talk a bit more about it.
He actually wasn't a cricketer, which is he's a coach, and I got into cricket, and so he learnt cricket to basically help me.
Yeah.
And so he played maybe a couple times at school, played a couple times with me, I think, when I was like a 15, 16-year-old, so he could play. But yeah, and other than that, but he just loves cricket. He loves sports. He's a great teacher, a great coach, and so yeah.
And we were at your granddad's place the other day, and you were smashing the rotten apples over the fence that were exploding. So that's something you've been doing for a long time, working on your bat swing?
Yeah, very, very long time. Call it scabby apples. Yeah, whacking them over.
So your granddad feeds from a few metres away and ducks for cover, and you just smack the apples as far as you can.
Yeah.
You've been doing that since you were 2 or 3, I think.
Long time.
Excellent. So then how did you get into competitive cricket? What's your earliest memories of playing competitive cricket?
Well, I started off at Nantwich Cricket Club playing under 9s, under 10s, so starting with softball, and found myself in a really, really good group. Like the coach, the players around, they were always a little bit older than me, but a really, really good group at Nantwich, and I've sort of just gone through the age groups all the way up until playing senior cricket now, second team men's. Yeah, just gone through all that ladder.
Well, you're only 13, so it's not been a long journey just yet, but you are playing second team in the men. How are you finding that this season so far?
Yeah, so obviously first season playing second team men's cricket, and it's such a big jump, like going from junior cricket to senior cricket. But it's been alright, like that experience of playing against men, like the velocity behind the ball, bigger boundaries. Just a really, really good challenge, and I've loved it this year.
And playing with the old boy, how are you finding that, mate?
Well, my knees are absolutely finished now, but I've loved it. Yeah, it's been amazing just to play with him. That was really, I think for a lot of pro parents, dads, but mums, like with kids in sport, you just think, if I could play a few games with them. I know my dad was really keen before he popped his Achilles not long ago that he wanted to play with me and Jax all in one team, but. I think it's just one of those pretty like bucket list things for me. I'm enjoying it. I've come back. I think I've talked to you before with cricket mentor, and I say all the time, like Jackson's obviously with coaches and mentors, and I think I've got probably more out of his mentoring and coaching than he ever has. By just coming back with probably a totally refreshed look at cricket compared to when I used to play. I was okay. I played county cricket for Cheshire, but I was certainly never up there, and I always struggled with scoring runs and hard on myself. And then coming back a lot later to the game now, and listening to the stuff that you say and what Jax listens to. Yeah, I'm suddenly like, like if you're a little easier on yourself, and I've probably gone better than I've ever gone before, up until the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I've loved it. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, and it's all about sort of just not judging yourself too much and focusing on the enjoyment, isn't it? That's what has been the big change you've said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's a difficult balance to get where you say that you don't care, and it feels like a weird one to say that I don't care. But I think that is part of it. It's just like letting go and going, well, it doesn't really matter. Like if I get a 3-ball duck on a Saturday, for me being older now at 40 with kids and family and dogs and everything else, like nothing actually changes. Nothing's different for me. And I think so many of I know that they do, kids, juniors, even men and women and everyone that plays the game, we're so hard on ourselves for cricket, and it's tough. We said this last weekend, it's the great leveler, this game. You can score 100 runs one week, be the best in the world, on top of the world. You can walk out the next day and you can nick off for none, and that's cricket. And I think once you can start to pull that into what you're doing and just find the enjoyment and go, well, you know what, like I'm out on a field, I'm playing with my son, I've got mates, we'll probably have a drink in the bar afterwards, like, I might get a run out, I might drop a catch, but like it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go out and do the best I can and have fun with it. So.
And Jax, that's also been a shift in your mindset over the last 12 months or so, hasn't it? You now get over sort of low scores. You got a 2nd-ball duck yesterday, and you were sort of able to move on really quickly, which has been a huge development at such a young age for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can remember a couple of years ago when I was first making it into like the Lanc setup and a few low scores, and I was just absolutely out of it. Like my head was all over the place. But since coming to India, 3 times now, going for a 4th, all the work you've been doing with me, it's just realising that it's just not that deep. Like it doesn't matter that much. You've still got a life to go back to once you've got in the car and you're on your way home. Like there's a whole life. But yeah, loads of work, and it's been brilliant.
It's amazing. I'm going to do a sort of a special piece of content, I think. When I was in the travelling through London, and there were just so many people walking around in their own world, it just gives you a perspective of how big the world is and how insignificant we really are to the scheme of the rest of the world. Like we've got our own little bubbles in the world. And I've said to a few people in the last week or so when I've been coaching them that there's probably 1 or 2 people in the world that genuinely care how you go on a Saturday. And that's you and maybe your mum or your dad if you're young. But even as like Maria, your wife, she probably doesn't care if you get a duck or 100. She's just like, I'll see you in the evening, and life goes on. But we make it up to be such a big thing in our own minds, and that becomes debilitating. That becomes limiting, doesn't it?
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think that was certainly I think back to when I played. I think that was the thing. You're constantly thinking of like, well, what did my own teammates think? What did the coach think? What did my mum and dad think? What did the opposition think? Like, they thought, and then you realise that you're like, from being a bit older, just being out there, a wicket happens on the pitch, and when you really take it into context, even you don't care that much. You've got someone out, you might go, oh, good, he was a good bat, and then within 3 seconds, it's gone.
You've moved on.
And that's it. We've moved on, they've moved. So I think, the more you can do that, and like I said, I think I've seen the switch a lot because I was obviously have been quite deep in this for a while, with Jax. But yeah, like I think the ability that he has now to assess what's happened and then move on is probably impacted his game positively. 80% of innings, I think, going on, because it used to be still thinking about, well, I got this in the other game, and going into the next games, I remember you being like, well, I only got this, and now I need to, like, which is, it's good, I think, to work through that, But again, just probably holding on for it for too long. I said this season that when I've got out before, like literally by the time I've got to the rope, by the time I've walked from the middle to the rope, it's gone. I'm like, I used to come off and be like, helmet would go in the cricket coffin and the pads would go up the wall and now you're just like, well, I'll go, put them away, put the pads up, we'll go again next week, and that's it.
And one thing I've heard Steve Smith say is that when you get a low score, it means you're one innings closer to a big score. And that's the way the best players look at it. They frame it optimistically that my runs are coming, and that helps you sort of move on quicker. But also, like, to your point, that your teammates are thinking about themselves as well. They're sort of, everyone's so focused on themselves. We're thinking, oh, they're judging us, but more often than not, they're focused on themselves. So for me, it's the message to anyone watching or listening is just, yeah, it's not as important as you think it is. In the game, we say, I play cricket, and that word play means fun, enjoyment. And if we can get to that, which you've got to most of the time, I know you still have times where you're hard on yourself, you are a competitor, but it makes a big, big difference to being able to sort of overcome bad days and then move forward into playing your best cricket. Take us back to your junior cricket again. So you're playing for Nantwich. Tell us how you got into the Lancashire pathway.
Well, so I don't live in Lancashire. I actually live in Staffs. I go to school in Cheshire, and at the time I played for a club in Cheshire. And the way to get into Lancs is you've got to either live, go to school, or play for a club in Lancs. So, and at Cheshire there were some things. Obviously, COVID happened, and Cheshire just didn't do any county cricket for 1 or 2 years. So I was like, this can't be happening. We've got to make a change. So like Lancs, it's the closest. So then I went and played for a club that was eligible for Lancs, and that was Urnston Cricket Club. So I played under 13s there for a season and a half. I'm still playing there now. And yeah, I went to a couple of trials with the Lancs over at Old Trafford in the indoor centre, and they were like, yeah, come have a go. So it was amazing, like the journey to get there from club cricket, going to the trials, then getting into the team. It was a wonderful experience.
And you had a nice little knock last week. So the week before last, I spent 5 days up at your place filming with your dad, who's a videographer and works for us here at Cricket Mentoring, and did some sessions. And then the following week, I think it was an under-13s match versus Yorkshire, and you had a cheeky little match-win innings. Tell us about that last week.
Yeah, it was all right. I think it was something that I hadn't really experienced before, because it was my first ever 2-day game, and we had lost lots of wickets very early on, and I was batting 6, had just kept for 70 plus overs, was knackered, and then there was about 20 minutes left in the day. I was like, all right, just put my legs up now, we'll see it into the night. And then you knew it, and I was in at the crease blocking for my life. I haven't defended so many balls in my life, and had to make it through the night, and then came out to bat the next morning. I think my mindset really helped me there. Like, I think a couple of years ago, I would just at night just try and whack it, and I would get myself out playing stupid shot, but really thought about it, came out the next morning, forgot about everything that happened the day before, and yeah, just went out and batted. Yeah, decent knock.
Got 91, last man out, and I think Yorkshire got about 130, and you guys got 160 or 70, and so it was a standout innings. So let's talk about mentors. Obviously, I've got to know you very well, and we catch up and chat a lot. But who are some other sort of people who have been influential in your career?
Well, obviously you've been around so much, especially with my mental side. Going out to India, it's been absolutely amazing. But other people as well. This season especially, JT Analysis coaching, he has improved my game, like my batting game especially, so much this season. Like, a completely different player to what I was last year. Just felt so much more solid. Being able to kick on and get some like bigger scores. I think that's one thing from last season. I was getting loads of 20s, 30s, not really being able to kick on to get 50 plus. But yeah, he's definitely helped a lot. And then really early on, Dave Layton from Hyde Cricket Club, had a couple one-to-ones with him, and he almost built me into a county player. Like, before I would just try and whack everything as junior cricket. We only play T20s, like it's only short form, but then moving into 30, 40 overs, he really taught me how to build an innings and bat for a long period of time. So yeah, a couple of people that were very influential.
Awesome. So tell us, and especially for our viewers, what have you been working on in your technical game when you're batting? What have been the changes you've made with JT over the winter that have really helped you for this season?
Well, I think one of the main things is shot selection. Like, as I've said, in other seasons, I would play shots at the wrong time and I would never defend a ball. I was like, what's the point of defending? Like, if you can score runs off it, like the ball's there to be hit. But one thing that he's really built into me is defending the ball. If the bowler is allowed to bowl good balls, like anyone's allowed to bowl a good ball. Sometimes it's too good for you, but just giving some respect to the ball. Another thing with my left side. So when I'm batting, I'm quite a risky player, and my bottom hand always wants to take over, try and make shots out of nowhere. But really building that left side, being a bit more classical, and yeah, that's really helped.
Awesome. Now, what do? You're obviously got the Cricket Kid Instagram account, which we're going to go into in a minute, but what do you do as a 13-year-old to get away from the game? Because it sort of is your identity. Everyone knows you as this young, good cricketer. Like, what do you enjoy away from the game to get away from it?
I think, at school, I play loads of other sports as well. Like, they give amazing opportunities at my school that I go to. I play lots of hockey, which is obviously a bit of a link to cricket with like wrists. Really helps your wrists, your leg power as well. Play a bit of rugby, football, loads and loads of sports, and just with my friends a lot of the time, like just going away from everything to do with sport, like I don't know, just go and muck about.
And you're getting into your golf now, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit of golf now, yeah.
We were in the car the other day and you two were having a little bicker over who was the better golfer and who won the round recently. So you're still very competitive in your golf, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Still annoyed that he said I could have a gimme and then tried
Wasn't
to take it
a gimme.
So here we go. So let's move into the Cricket Kid, which is how I first saw you guys, and I'm sure many thousands of people around the world. Tell us how that started. I'll go to you, Nick. Tell us how the Cricket Kid started. Where did the idea come from? We're just taking a break from this episode for a minute to tell you about the cricket mentoring community. We're on a mission to build the world's best community of cricketers, coaches, and parents. So no matter where in the world you live or what level you're at right now, the cricket mentoring community can help you. If you're committed to your game and serious about becoming the best cricketer you can be and person you can be off the field, then join cricketers from over 24 countries around the world in the cricket mentoring community. Get access to myself and other CM mentors and experts from around the world as we aim to teach you the 6 pillars of success: technical, tactical, mental, emotional, physical, and lifestyle, so that you can become the best you can be. If this excites you and you're ready to take the next step in your journey, then click on the link in the description below and join the cricket mentoring community now.
The idea came from Jackson. Jackson wanted to. He was, I think at the time, I can't remember exactly what age, but he must have been 9, 10-ish. So he was watching like a lot of YouTube stuff. So, lots of like, and it wasn't sports based because there wasn't loads around. Maybe a little bit. There was like the freestylers, the football stuff. There was a little bit around, and he was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to do one, but for my thing. Like, I don't like gaming. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to do it for cricket. So I was like, okay. I was like, it's part of work. That's what I do. So I was like, yeah, I can help you out doing it, and we'll see where we get up to.
So let's just pause there. Give us your background. Tell the viewers like your skill set.
So I've worked in media creation with my wife for 15 plus years, even longer than that. I was in music before. Then we went into doing this. She's done it forever. We have a production company. We've worked with lots of people, artists, like Soul Cycle, Channing Tatum,
big names
like
around the
yeah,
world,
we've done like big projects, small projects, and it's just something we love doing. And we obviously just moved, as everyone did, more into the social sector, really, because suddenly social media became the thing to do. And we're just in, as everyone is, social media. We need content all day, every day. And you can't make it quick enough to get it out onto the platform. So that's just what we'd worked in.
And so one thing that stood out from the start with the cricket kid was not only Jackson's love for the game, his ability to be so good and warm and energetic in front of camera, but also the quality of the edit and the quality of the production was down to your skill set, obviously.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I think Jackson, it just became like this. It started off as a fun project, honestly, and for me, I was like, having worked in it, I think sometimes you can end up a bit jaded, where you're like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. Like, how am I going to make? Like, I've worked with lots of people. People who are good, like whether they're on TV or whatever, and you get them in front of a camera and they go, and you're like, oh my God, this is really difficult. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. But he just naturally went into doing it. So as soon as he did that, I was like, okay, like we can do this, because this is not going to take loads of my time. So that was how it started. We made a few videos here and there.
Tell us about your first. Do you remember your first ever video?
Was it a forward defensive?
How to play the forward defensive, I remember that.
And was that shot in the back garden?
No, we went to a net, like we went to a net, like an indoor net, I think, didn't we? And he was like, okay, so we mic'd him up, and he did these things, played a few shots and that sort of stuff. I think he did that, and maybe a cover drive, and that is how we started. And I think it was in the process. We'd filmed a load of stuff. It was waiting to be edited, and then I feel like COVID wasn't too far away from sort of that period. It must have been close. So we'd made a few and we put them on YouTube, and it was a small thing. We hadn't really done anything, and then sort of COVID happened, but we were still filming. We basically were at home. I couldn't go to work. He was at home with me, so we were just like, okay, here we go. So we did everything from building a net in the garage at home because we needed the space, to building devices in the garden because we were just, like everyone else, just trapped at home doing it. And it sort of went from there. And I think early on I was talking to, I think, the guys here at Cricket District and Gareth, but there wasn't really a platform for it in cricket, like, whatsoever. I remember there was our cricket did like back garden stuff, but there wasn't a huge amount of cricket content. Like, it just didn't really exist. So it was a bit, for a good amount of time, it was a niche. I mean, obviously there's loads and loads out there now. Lots of people doing it, lots of people filming what they're doing, which is great. Like, it's really elevated cricket, I think. I think it'll make a lot better players. I'm definitely here for it. But yeah, early on we were sort of blazing a path, really, because we were like, we didn't know what we were doing. We just what will be fun? What will people want to watch? And I think that is the basis of all of it. Jax would be like, oh, let's do this. Let's try and let's see if we can catch an egg. Like, it was just he.
So it was a combination of you both having ideas?
Yeah. So he would come with ideas and go, what if we did this? And then it was basically my idea to try and figure out how we could do it or how we could shoot it. And then that led to me like building devices and.
So yeah, you've become very creative with your fly swats and your pool noodles, and is that just a bit of handiwork in the back garden?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it just comes from making it fun, I think. And honestly, that actually probably comes from my dad. So his granddad is, like I said before, he wasn't really a cricketer, but he's an incredible teacher and an incredible coach. But he's just really fun. Like, he's a fun guy. Like, he always wants to make it interesting.
To give some context, when he snapped his Achilles, he was with us in India at an orphanage, and he was trying to get all the kids. Did have all the kids, the Indian kids playing games. Our group was sort of off doing things, but he was like, "Come on, kids, come on!" He was the most energetic one there.
Yep. Oh,
and unfortunately, he snapped his Achilles, which wasn't very pleasant.
Yeah. No, he's always been like that, and I guess that rubs off on you. And I've done some coaching in the past, but I think it just was about making it fun because. And maybe that is why it caught on with a lot of people, possibly. You never really know, like, when you're making accounts, like, but I think that is part of it, that it was just trying to make it as fun as possible, because it can get boring, I think. Yeah, cricket training can get boring. I see all the time, actually, sometimes get this in comments, people going, oh, well, you could just do this down the net with a bowler. Well, of course you can, but, like, I think there comes a limit to your learning if you're not constantly there's other things that happen. We talk about this a lot in cricket. There's lots of controllables, but there's lots of things you can't control. So part of it is we were just like, almost the more things you have to think about, it's Josh, isn't it, the wicketkeeper coach? He's very much like, distractions are great because they are exactly what they say. They are distractions. He's like, it could be anything in a game. You know, you suddenly get, he would always say, you know, sometimes you get a batter that might come in. Let's say Steve Smith, for example. His backlift at points is all over the place. Well, for a keeper, it's an absolute nightmare. Like, how do you then focus on what you're doing? So he was just like, the more things you can get in front of you, the better it is for your training. So I think that's really where it came from. I mean, we did definitely go out there with some of the stuff, but I think that was it for me, really. Just it kept it fun for me, kept it fun for you.
Yeah. Well, that's a shout out to Josh Sivia, the wicket keeping coach on Instagram, who he was. I had a few sessions with him with his batting back in the day, and then he's turned himself into a really high quality keeping coach, which you've done some sessions with. What's been like a standout piece of content, or what's been one of the highlights for you, Jax, in terms of the content you've created? Not so much in terms of how many views it's had, but something you enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this guy over here has built some absolutely crazy stuff. I don't even know how he did it. Like, there's been some recent ones. Like, there was so we had, I forgot what it was, but it was like a spinning thing, and it would spin round, and he put a cone, he neon painted the cone, then got pool noodles, drilled holes into the cone, and like put them out, and it was spinning at the same time. I think that was definitely one of my favourite. It went big on views as well, but that was one of the funnest things I've ever done.
What about you, this guy? He said this guy over here.
This guy.
What's been your favourite piece of content you've made?
I think one of my favourite piece of content that we got to make actually was when you met Sarah Taylor for the first time, because that's quite interesting and poignant, because Jax was a bowler. I mean, every wicketkeeper's a bowler, right? But he actually genuinely was a bowler before, and he'd never even thought about wicket keeping. And then in the midst of when we're like starting to make content and look at stuff, he would just sit and watch. And he would watch that one Sarah Taylor catch where she goes for the reverse paddle or whatever, and she takes a catch at like gully basically, and he'd just sit and watch that and repeat, and then was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to be a keeper. So I've never been a keeper, so I was like, okay, well, we'll try. So your granddad probably went back to the old ECB coaching manuals. What do keepers have to do? Let's get in the position. I'm pretty sure he did. He went on some coaching courses to go and find out what wicket keepers did. And he started it off with you, I think. But that for me, when you for that to come full circle, and she's always been amazing. She popped in on and saw a few of the videos and was like, oh, try this. Like, she was like, try and catch a ball in both hands at the same time. And so through that, we just sort of made a connection. And then she just happened to be, I think she was at Manchester Original. She was coaching, and she was like, hey, come down. So he actually got to meet her. And she went out and did a session with him, like out on the pitch. That for me was one of my favourite things, because that was a really cool like moment and like full circle thing for you.
And so let's go into your keeping. When I first saw you, I was amazed at how good your keeping was. I think in the 2.5 years since I first saw you, your batting has come on significantly, but your keeping was what really stood out to me at first. So how did you go from being a bowler to seeing Sarah Taylor to suddenly becoming such a... I don't like the word talent. I think you were just highly skilled through a lot of practice, no doubt.
Yeah, I think, as you said before, my granddad, like, he would have me in the garden every single day, because, like, no one knew in the family, like, what keeping was about, like, how to do it, what it was all about. So, yeah, I think it was just hours and hours of training. I think I would say I used to be a decent fielder, and my hand-eye coordination and my reactions, they can always be improved, but I think I was, how would I say, gifted with my dad being a decent fielder himself, he would like to say.
Yeah, I was much better than you, way better. Yeah.
Well, we can see the great relationship you two have, and I think that's also a huge part of the success of you as a cricketer, but also the cricket kid, is that you guys, as you said, Nick, you guys have a lot of fun with what you do. Like I've seen it sort of many times now. It's you're having as much fun filming and creating the content, putting it all together as what it shows. And that was one thing that really stood out for me, was how good you were in front of the camera for a young boy, 10-year-old, 11-year-old when I first saw it, and then sort of your energy and your excitement in your voice, and then these cool activities and games that you were sort of creating was really unique. And as you said also, Nick, that there's so many kids now who are sort of trying to create content.
Yeah.
But you guys definitely did sort of pave the way from that point of view.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you see a lot now, and I love it. I think it's great. I mean, I think it's really good for the game, and you know, I think that's probably one of the things that we field the most, don't we? Questions we get in all the time. We do get people, asking us about technical stuff, and I think we're always, we try and help as best we can. Like, I'm a coach, but I tend not to do that. I'm always like, if you've got a coach, ask your coach, because they can work on it with you. But we do get a lot of questions about content and like, how do I do this and how do I make this? And I think the advice that we always try and say is just you have to make something that's authentic to you. Like, it's massive. Like, I think if you ask anyone that's in content, whether it's cricket or whatever, there is a lot more that goes into it than you think. You look at it on the back end when you see a 15-second video on Instagram, and there's been a lot of work that went into that. And it's hours and doing something and doing this and doing that. So it's time consuming. So if you don't love it, you won't put the work in, and you can't be consistent with it. And I think that's the thing. If you have to be consistent and enjoy it and enjoy doing it, because otherwise it does just fall off.
And so what point did it start to gain traction? You thought, well, like what we're sharing actually is resonating with people. Do you remember that, Jax?
I think it was that catch.
Yeah,
That was massive.
Yeah, there was a catch that I took
Off the cradle?
the cradle in the cricket barn, and there was definitely a lot of mayo put on that catch, but sort of caught it and then just decided to do a bit of a side flip. But I think it went trending in either Pakistan or India, and it got, I think it's on 16.8 million views, and it just went everywhere.
You check that every day, do you?
Yeah,
know the
every
exact
day,
number.
yeah.
Roundabout, right.
You're watching it every day.
16.85.
Yeah, right. And so what did that just give you more motivation to keep doing what you're doing?
I think it brought a lot more attention to your page. I mean, if you get, if you get a few, and I think then we had a few of those that happened around that time, and because then people start to come back and check other content, and I think just people seeing it, then they suddenly go, oh whoa, where have I missed this? I'll go back and watch some of it. I'll go to the YouTube and whatever. So I think that was helpful in terms of it being like a boost. And also, I mean, there isn't a formula. Like, from someone that works in it, I've worked with loads and loads of companies to try and get, they're like, we need a viral video. Well, if it was that easy to do, the person that could make them would be Jeff Bezos. Do you know what I mean? But like, I think still making things that are interesting to you is the best way to go, because that's all that we did. And it was the same with that one. That one is interesting to me, that one catch, actually, because I think sometimes something that splits opinion is often the best content. But you have to be aware with that. If you're doing that and you're making that content, you have to be aware to let that happen and understand that people will go, well, there's mayo, you didn't need to roll, you didn't need to do this. And I think for me, what's interesting on being on the other side of it is looking and going, people, people always got opinions, cricket, whatever it is, other people's content. But you don't really know, like, you're taking one clip out of context. Like, I think that session we were just doing rolling. So we were practicing catching one hand. Can you roll onto your shoulder to make sure that you keep the ball? And it was probably one that you did have to go for it. It went quickly, but you probably didn't need to roll the way that you roll. You could have probably just taken it. But it just so happened that was the one, and it looked really cool, and it just got posted with a little music clip, and suddenly it went pff. So, yeah, I think that's one thing that's just interesting to me is content that we make and content creators make. There's not really a pattern to it. You can't go, oh, well, I'll put this because I think it'll go viral. In fact, I think sometimes doing that probably works in the opposite way.
Yeah, and I always think that if you're adding value or you're sort of trying to create some entertainment, then it'll organically do what it does. It they'll if people enjoy it, the algorithm is there to sort of show it to more people. And if they don't, well, then maybe you haven't hit the mark. And as we all know, in the content game, you miss the mark a lot more than you hit it. So every now and again that you might get one that runs. So you mentioned dividing opinions, and I'll go to you first, Jax. have you had much hate? Have you had many people sort of negative comments? And if so, how have you dealt with that as a boy, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old boy trying to sort of add value and do something fun?
Well, yeah, I think there's always going to be a few, like, there's a lot of online coaches. There's a lot of people that are comment section coaches and they think they know everything about the game, but I think it's just about listening to the people that you trust and like your coaches that you work with and just sort of just blanking it out. Like you know it's there and almost just use it as encouragement and the drive to go forward and do what you want to do.
And so you were always able to do that, or did it affect you with some of the comments in the early days?
It never really affected me because I just ignored it and I knew it was going to happen, so I was just like laughed it off and yeah, took it with.
And Nick, how did you deal with it as a father of a young boy who's sort of just trying to do something fun and help others?
Yeah, I think we had a conversation. Like I feel fortunate in a way because I feel like Jackson's always been pretty mature. Like he's able to understand things and deal with things. And it was a conversation that I had with him pretty early that was like, if you're gonna do this, like you're not just gonna get people going on being like, oh, you're amazing. Oh, I said you're gonna get the opposite side of it as well. I was like, but I think we said this very early. You just have to take everything that you see. I was like, everything that you see online most of the time, I'm like, take with a pinch of salt. It doesn't matter whether it's your content, someone else's content. Again, that's what I was saying before. You have no idea the context of what it is. Sometimes someone will post something. It might just be one shot that they were like, oh, that they hit as a cover drive. And I'm like, you know, yourselves, you look through and you have people going, well, the ball was doing this, or this was doing this, and this was doing the other. And I think, as Jackson's right, like that was his mindset always, was just to go, you know what? Like, I trust the people that are close to me. And I was saying that for him, and that's for anyone that goes forward. I think anyone, and wherever you go in the game, I mean, who knows? I've said this before, like, you can forget sometimes, and when people talk about this, and we talk about the cricket kid and this thing, it's just an account. Like, Jackson's a 13-year-old kid, really, that enjoys playing cricket, but, like, he enjoys playing hockey, he enjoys going to school, he enjoys seeing his mates. Like, it's just part of an account that helps us move forward in cricket. That's the most beneficial thing to us. I've said this a few times to other people, that I'm like, it's afforded him some great opportunities to meet people like yourself. I was saying before, like Sarah Taylor. There's been wonderful like coaches and people we've met through cricket, and alongside that, other content creators, and honestly, like other kids. Like I'm look, when they playing games, I think whenever you play cricket, if you have another player on another side that you know or you think might affect the game, you want to get them out. It doesn't matter whether they've got a social media account or not. And I said I think that will always happen, but I'm, for the most part, most of the kids that I think that you have interactions with, they're really for it. They love it. They're like, oh, amazing. And then they'll come and chat afterwards and want to talk about it. And so for the most part, I've seen, there's been a few things, but it's nice that we've been on the same level, that I can say, hey, if you get anything in like this, just let me know so we can monitor that stuff. But I would say generally on the whole, it's been mostly positive.
Yeah, and I think you do a great job of framing it. Your more recent videos have been, I'm not a coach, but this is what I'm doing, this is what I see, and you don't leave yourself too open for negative criticism when you're doing it like that. So it's called The Cricket Kid. You're not really a kid anymore. Well, you're still 13, but we looked back at a photo from a couple of years ago in India this morning, and you were a little boy then, and you're not so little anymore. What's next for The Cricket Kid in terms of the account and the social and all of that?
Well, yeah, I think going forward, you've probably seen, like, it's done with, like, my matches and filming matches. We used to film every single game, like, put my average, strike rate, runs scored, all things like that. But I think now it's more moving into, not coaching, but, like, letting people in on my journey, like, how I want to go throughout my, hopefully, cricketing career. And yeah, giving people an insight of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do, things that I'm learning, not actually telling people this is what you need to do, like this is the exact way you need to do things, but yeah, letting people in and letting them join on my journey.
Excellent.
Yeah, which I think is one of the new things we were talking about earlier today, saying that it's interesting to see where you go from this. There's a long journey to go when you're 13 and you play cricket. I mean, who knows? You might end up to get to 50 and go, I'm a DJ now. I'm doing. Oh, you might. Well, I'll say golf, but you wouldn't because you still wouldn't beat me.
Very good at golf.
But yeah, I think that we were talking about something that that maybe people know, maybe they don't. But Jackson's got dual citizenship, so his mum's from the US, so he's eligible to play for England if he ever managed to do that, which would be incredible. But if he managed to do it, he could also play for the US. And mum's hometown is LA, and the Olympics is in LA, 2028. So I think one thing that he's expressed interest in is it possible to get to the Olympics to LA 2028 and play cricket? I mean, I'd love to do that for England. I feel like that would be a tough shout. There's some pretty good cricketers in a few years above. Same thing would be with the US. Slightly smaller market there, so you may have more of a chance. So that's something that I think we're going to look to do and show what the process is and how we're going to go about doing that. Obviously, at 13 now, it's a lot of things sort of change. So there's going to be a lot more sort of strength and conditioning and things like that come in that you don't really have to bother with, but as a junior cricket, you'll do less work on. It's more about technical and learning the game. So yeah, I think that'll be quite an interesting move forward to see how we go about it, how you go about it. I think I think you found this season. We were talking about this in the car after the 2-day game, that you suddenly realise, I think, as a wicketkeeper bat, how much of a toll that takes to try and bat 5 and above, or even 5 and 6, but with 70 odd overs of keeping in your body is tough. So yeah, I think we've got to work out the balance of how we're going to do that, how we go forward, and yeah, like maybe see if we can reach a pinnacle of an Olympics if we could get there.
Yeah, and that's incredible. I've obviously you told me about this a couple of weeks ago, and I got super excited. I'm calling it the Road to LA 2028. 48 episodes between now and then that might, who knows, you'll only be 17, so it's a big ask. But the destination is not what's important. It's the journey. And so I think that'll be a fascinating series to follow your journey from a 13-year-old to potentially playing for the USA in the 2028 Olympics. So I'm super excited to watch that and sort of be a part of that. Now, we'll wrap up shortly, but Nick, I want to ask you now, moving away from the cricket kid, about your evolution as a parent, because this is something we've spoken a lot about. You and I have shared a few quiet kingfishers on the rooftop in India, and yeah. one of the conversations we had on one of the first tours was around parenting, and that you've said to me since then, you've done a bit of your own work as well, and that's really helped you become more level around Jax as well, which has no doubt rubbed off on him. Yeah,
I think so. Not just Jackson, like my younger one, Jones, as well. I think just in general, I said this to you, that I'd not given value to it, but I'd never really had much thought about the mental side of the game. But then hearing you talk about your experience and how you went into cricket, and how you wished you had a mentor that was able to keep it more level for you, and therefore like help you be better at your game, sort of really resonated with me, because that's how I felt when I was a junior. So then the more we spent time together and I listened to you giving talks, whether they were in India or even online, and the stuff in the cricket mentoring community, which is brilliant. But it completely changed me as a parent. It wasn't just changing me as a coach and around cricket. It changed how I did so many things. And I think that, to me, is probably the key. That's what's the most important thing. But I remember we talked a little bit about when you said you rode to Lancashire. Well, obviously it's quiet. You can't fill all the gaps in. But it was really tough. That those years before, he was desperate to play county cricket. And he couldn't get in for different reasons, stuff that he couldn't impact. But I felt that this was the season before we came to India, and I lived every ball that was bowled at him, every ball that he took behind the stumps, and it got to the point where I remember me saying to you that you would walk off the cricket pitch, and before you'd even come off the rope, you were looking to me for like an answer of like, oh, I've just got out, and was that enough, and was it this? And I remember once you started talking about it, being like, that's not where I want to be as a parent. Like, that's not where I want to be. Like, I don't want to be your coach, like and for most parents that is the case. Like, let's be honest, like if you're a parent of a cricketer, you are very, very often their first coach and the person that's around the most. And I was like, I can't be on the same journey as you. I can't be on that roller coaster because it goes up and down. And I think we just put so much weight in everything that was happening. Every innings mattered because we need this, we need that. We've got to get into Lancashire. We've got to do this. You need more runs. The average needs to be higher. And I think it was so intense. And I just, having then done that first trip in India, came back and was like, this is not how I need to go about this. I think we'd do a lot of stuff and have fun, but at the same time, there was times where we were definitely not having fun. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Jax, what was the did you see a difference in Nick, your dad?
Oh, 100%. Like,
and did that take a weight off your shoulders, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I think most kids, as you said before, like, looking off once you've got out, and like once you walk off, you're like immediately looking to your parents. Like, there's always that pressure that it's the most important thing in the world, and
well, you don't want to let your parents down, do you?
you don't want to let them down. You don't want to make them think bad of you. You just want to impress them. And if you don't do that, like, I think the difference in his mindset was like, it doesn't matter. Like, as I said before, like, there's a life away from cricket. If you don't get any runs, if you get a first bowler, if you drop a catch, like, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and parents have unconditional love for their kids. Almost every parent in the world is well-meaning and wants what's best for their kids, but it's the emotion that's attached to the outcome that makes the parent ride it. And I just did a little piece before about I've been in the nets over the last couple of weeks all around the country, and I like in these sort of club nets that I've been using, doing some coaching sessions while over here. I've heard loads of parents coaching, and for the most part, it's been really, really good, really positive, really good language, really good tone of voice. But every now and again, there's the parent who's sort of really angry and frustrated and being really harsh on their 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. And I just look at that and I feel really sorry for both parties, because I think the parent is just lacking the skills or the understanding of how to go about it. They're riding it too hard. And then the kid is probably not going to end up continuing to play, because the number one reason kids quit sport is the car ride home, when they feel so bad, and it's the parents who are trying to help, but they're saying, why did you do this? What did you do wrong? Why? And they're trying to, and the kid just, all they want to do is just get away from their failure and move on. And kids generally are pretty good at moving on. They might be disappointed for sort of 5 minutes, and then they're like, all right, let's go play in the park, or let's go and do this. They move on to the next thing, and then over time, as they get to sort of double figures, 10, 11, whatever, and the parents start investing more and they care more, it becomes so draining and detrimental to the kids.
I think I noticed that the most. That's one thing that I remember being around, again, different areas, but the same thing of just listening and taking the time and being like, listening to what other parents were saying. And I mean, I still see it now, and like having looked and been in that place, I feel like mine was weird because it was sort of on and off. It wasn't like all the time. I'd just be like, there's moments where, this is the problem. You're thinking about stuff outside of it. He's not thinking about it. He's just going, I've just got a game of cricket. And most kids would be the same. But you're going, oh, but this game, and if you can do this. And you're thinking about that stuff. So therefore, and that energy, I just felt that, that energy would transfer to him. And you would look, and that was it for me. I watched it and was like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be that parent. And again, like you say, I don't think anyone does it from a place of hatred or whatever. I think they do it from a place of love, but it's just sometimes it's just not directed in the right place sometimes. So yeah, that was massive learning for me. It's changed so much. I think, or I hope. Well, I know it as it. Like, we play in the same team now, so there's still like a little banter and rivalry, but like, I think there's just that understanding and respect that I'm like, if a player gets, I mean, there's lots of different things from keeping a ball, but batting wise, particularly, I think we always talk about the hardest bit of the game. Got to be, people just get low scores. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter Smith, Root, Kohli. Everyone gets out first ball. It just happens. And I think if you can look at it really objectively, I think we talk about this a lot. And even me, for my game and you, we just go, what happened in that ball? Was it a really good ball? Was it too good for me? Probably not. Did I make the wrong decision? Maybe. Was it maybe something I couldn't help? Like, did I play a great shot and someone's taking a phenomenal catch, and another day that goes for 4? But that's it. You just make that assessment, and then you finish it, and you're like, that's it. It's gone now. There's nothing we can do about it, so we just move on. And I think that mindset change for me, and also I think not addressing it with him. And I see this a lot from parents, and this is my one now that I look and I'm like, oh, it's the walk around the boundary when you've got out and they walk around explaining every bit of the innings. I'm just like, it's not the time. Like, if they got out, they probably know why they got out already. You don't need to go through it with them then. Yeah. So I think that was my main one, that you just like, how's that? Oh, yeah, I just missed a straight one. All right, fair enough. And off we go, and that's it. So.
Yeah, very good. Well, we've had so much value. Now, Jax, what would you like to get out of your career? You're still so young. We've spoken about the road to the Olympics in 4 years. You'll only be 17 then. I think, and many people who have met you think you've got the world in front of you, but anything can happen. What would you like to achieve in the game?
I mean, it would always be amazing to represent my country as many times as possible. Like, it's a long, long way away, but I think representing your country, especially in cricket, is like such a big achievement, and I would definitely love to do that. I think in one day I would like to score. Obviously, it's a tough ask, but the most runs I possibly can, and maybe get up the leaderboards in most runs scored of all time in one day cricket. I'd also like to take the Ashes back off Australia, which would be nice.
He's not
very
giving them
good. Well, firstly, I'm going to say I believe you can do anything you want because you're a special young player. But what has stood out to me with you over the few years I've known you is your love for the game, and you just want to sort of always be training, always be doing it. And that's what I saw in Teague Wiley, who has gone on to do great things at a young age, and I've seen in a handful of others. And I think that is the secret ingredient to becoming a world-class player, to becoming the best in the world, is that real deep love of what you do, and not just love of the results, not just love of the fame, but love of the craft of being in the nets. We filmed down at the Sussex ground today, and you just didn't want your net to end. So, and you just wanted to keep batting and batting and batting, and that is what I think is the secret sort of recipe to becoming the best you can be. So it's really important that from my point of view is that you continue to enjoy it first and foremost, because that I think is what will get you a very long way in the game. And if you find that you're not at any point, well, then that's maybe when you need to have a bit of a break, because the game is consuming, as we've spoken about. But look, it's been awesome. Obviously, I know you guys very well, but it's been awesome sharing your story. I'm sure there's a whole heap of young kids and their parents all around the world who will get some value from this. And this is just the first of many times we'll be documenting your journey, hopefully, and seeing you, continuing to grow physically and grow as a person and mature. And I wish you nothing but the best. So thanks for coming on. Thanks, boys.
Always, mate. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode or any of our content, then please do me a big favour and subscribe to our channel. The more subscribers we get, the bigger the guests we can get on and continue to help you on your journey of becoming the best you can be.